guys, well, let's get started here. I've got 10 things that you should be all doing, or we should be all doing to be able to get listings. Kind of the tagline that I put on there was how to get 12 new listings in the next 12 months, right? So one a month. For some people, that might not be a big deal. You crush it at a high level. Some of you guys, that's not what you're doing currently. So this is a chance to be able to get that going. So the very first thing I put on here is that you need to be doing one event a month at a minimum of one event. Now, that could be an event that you put on yourself, or it could be an event that you piggyback on another event that's taking place, ideally in that community in which you are currently farming, right? Or the community that you guys work. And so if you're not going to at least one of those events, like in the city of Eastville, we're doing the picnic in the park that's coming up this month, at the end of the month, there's always an event happening. You need to be making sure that you're always there present in one event. Okay, that's the number one thing. Two, you need to be making sure that you're having 2 mailers go out each month. 2 mailers. And that could be, doesn't matter how small it is or how big it is, you need to be sending out. I know that some of you guys will do like either a postcard, or you guys will have like just, like a newsletter that you print out and you mail to a specific geographic area. No matter what it is, it needs to be at least 2 times a month that goes out. Okay. Number 3, I put on here, you need to be doing 3 pop buys in your farm to your past clients. So if you have past clients in your farm, you need to be doing pop buys. Now, what's a pop buy? It's just super simple. It's going to the house unannounced, without an appointment, and just knocking on their door and saying, hey, I was in the neighborhood, just decided to stop by, and usually would have like some type of a treat to give to them, right? Now, the cool thing is, if you don't have past clients in the farm that you're trying to work, that's okay. Adopt a past client. Adopting past clients is super simple, right? Most of the time, a transaction, especially in areas where you would have an agent that's out of the area that comes and sells a house in the area in which you work and then leaves and doesn't come back, that client is an abandoned client. So it's very easy to be able to go to those people. And the way you find them is just going and knocking on the doors of the homes that just sold, like wait 2-3 weeks, right? But then go knock on their door and say, hey, congratulations on moving into this community. Here's some things, and give them some type of value about the community, about the neighborhood. Tell them, hey, these are where the local parks are. This is where my 5 favorite restaurants are. Here's where Costco is, whatever, right? Just tell them about the name of the community, and then say, hey, are you okay? Would it be okay if I know you just recently bought this house 2 weeks ago. Would it be okay if I followed up with you just to make sure to see how you're doing, how you like the neighborhood and the community? And if you have any questions about the community, I'd love to be that resource for you. Okay. So adopting a trend or a client could be very, very easy, and it should be done on a regular basis because those agents are not doing it. So they're being abandoned. Okay, so those are 3 pop buys. Number 4 is to do 4 open houses a month. You should be doing an open house every single week, once a week, consistently. And if they're not doing it on a Saturday, you should be doing it during the week if you can, right? What's really cool right now is that the summer months are coming. They're already here. It doesn't get dark until 8, right? 8:30. It'll get to a point where it's at 9 o'clock or even 9:30 before it gets dark. So doing an open house from like 4 to 6 or 4 to 7 in the afternoon, or from 5 to 7 is a great time to be able to meet people that are coming back from work. They see open house signs. People are not doing them typically. So it's a great way to be able to connect with them. You get some wine out, some cheese, and it could be a great time for them to come and just relax for a minute and take that opportunity to be able to connect with them. Okay, so 4 open houses a month. 5, you should be doing 5 posts on social media every single week. So 1 a day. Okay, so 5 posts a week. And the thing that people forget to do sometimes is that when you are doing a post on social media, that you should be tagging the cities, not just the city, but the cities that you work in. So going and just tagging every single city that you work in, because what happens is that people that don't know you might follow the city that they live in. And if you tag that city, it's going to pop up and it's going to show them on their feed what you're saying, right? And hopefully it has pertinent information, some type of value that you're offering to them, and they'll be able to connect with you that way. Number 6, CMA, you need to be doing 6 CMAs a month. Okay, 6 CMAs a month. Now, again, you can do a very extensive CMA. You can do a very simple 1-page CMA. You can do the the screenshot, and we've already talked about this. You do a screenshot of the Zillow Zestimate and put that on a piece of paper, an 8.5 by 10 on a Word document, and say, hey, this is what Zillow says your house is worth, and here's reasons why I think it's wrong. And then going and dropping that off, or doing a full-on, like one of those the CMA providers that will do like a 100-page document or 50-page document that looks like you've like put a lot of time and effort into it. If you've got someone that's analytical, they're going to love that type of data because it just has so much stuff for them to go over and look through. So I don't care if it's a 1-page document or if it's a 50-page document, as long as you're getting those CMAs and going and dropping it out at someone's house, get those yellow folders, Millennium folders, or whatever it's called, put it in there and then drop it off at their house. Okay. It's a simple way to be able to make face-to-face contact and also give them something of value. And of course, when you're there and they are there, you could ask them questions like, hey, tell me about what you're looking to, why'd you decide to make a move? Or, have you thought about making a move? I know you've been here for X amount of years, you've got some equity, yada, yada. Okay. So do 6 of those every single month. Let's see, next one. 7 CMAs need to be done to people that are non-owner occupied. Okay. If you're in a state where that information is very easily found, then getting that list of people that are non-owner occupieds or investors and creating, there you go, Tessa, and doing a CMA and mailing it to them. Okay. Typically investors are going to be a little bit older. And so they will appreciate an actual hard copy of something instead of a digital copy. And so getting those CMAs printed out, right? If you want to be super analytical and do like the very thick copy of it, the 50 pages or so, you can mail that to them. It's going to be, it might cost you $2-3 to do, but I promise it'll be well worth it. And if you're doing it on a consistent basis every single month to that client, that non-owner occupied, they might have their home rented out, right? Obviously, but when that time comes where the tenant is moving out and the new tenant's coming in, that's a perfect time for them to say, gosh, I'm just ready to be done with this house. I'm done. Or I want to sell this home and do a 1031 exchange into another property. So that's a great way to be able to connect with people and investors so that you can make sure that they know that you are the person that they need to be connecting with when they go to sell the property, especially if they live out of the area. Okay, so 7 CMAs to non-owner occupieds. 8, you should be going on 8 listing appointments a month. Okay, 8 listing appointments a month. That's 2 a week. If you don't have a listing appointment, like you need to be doing whatever you possibly can, all the things that we've talked about in the past, or the 7 things above it, to be able to get yourself a listing appointment, even if it's a listing consultation, right? Even if it's just someone that says, hey, I'm contemplating selling, but I'm not sure. Go to their house and do a listing presentation. When you do listing presentations and you're doing 2 a week, guess what that's going to do? It's going to give you more opportunities to be able to get homes listed. But another thing is it's going to keep you fresh on your toes of how to present properly. It's going to get you more role playing, but with real people, opportunity to be able to sharpen your skills and know how to connect with prospective sellers and wanting to list their homes. Okay. So if you're not doing that today, if you're not currently going on listing appointments every single week, like there's a missed opportunity. And even if you have to like go to your mom's house and do the listing presentation with your mom, like do it, right? Practicing that is like any other thing that you do that you want to get good at, right? Most agents don't go on a whole bunch of listing appointments. And because of that, when they do have a listing appointment, they get all frazzled and scared, and then they freaking totally screw it up when they go to that person's house. So spending the time role playing, spending 30 minutes, 40 minutes looking through comps and showing comps to people is a huge way of doing that on a regular basis. I've got to do one this morning. Fantastic. Again, going on a weekly, 2 times a week listing appointments, ideally with people that really want to sell their house, but even if it's not, doing it as a role play is a huge way to be able to continue to build opportunities for you to increase your skill set, so that when you do, and it's real, that it counts and you're able to get that listing taken. And then obviously handling objections in that process. Number 9, you should be getting 9 handwritten notes, right? If you guys have like a little card that has, it doesn't have to be branded, it could just be whatever, but just a note card where you can actually write a handwritten note to somebody in the farm, okay? Where you're putting it in an envelope, a little stamp, handwriting their name, handwriting your information, and then mailing that to them. You guys, people, like when you get postcard or when you get a little card in the mail, people open that up, right? because it doesn't look like it's solicitation. It doesn't look like it's someone's trying to, it's not a bill, right? It's like, oh, what is this? Is this an invitation to a party, right? Whatever it is, this gets opened up and read more than you think, especially if it's an older generation or older community that you live in. Okay. So this is huge to be able to do that. And again, like, it could be to your past clients. It could be to just someone that you met when you're door knocking and they made an impression on you, even if it's just to say, hey, this is Nazar, with Five Realty. I just wanted to let you know that, it was great talking with you on your front door. You probably have one of the prettiest, front yards I have seen in a long time. I really enjoyed seeing your daffodils or whatever, just something that makes it memorable to you. And then just send this in the mail to them. Like, you'll make that secondary impression on them to be able to say, you know what, gosh, I really liked Sandy. She came to my house that one time, and they'll remember that. They'll remember that, especially if you put in a couple of your business cards in there and mail that to them. Okay. And number 10 is making sure that you're making 10 new contacts every single day. Now, the two easiest ways to be able to do that is to go door knocking or to circle prospect. I like door knocking because I built my business that way. And I think a huge way to be able to build rapport with people is getting face-to-face with them. Okay. If you're face-to-face with somebody, you have the highest chance of being able to get them to know, like, and trust you. Okay. If they're getting a mailer from you and they've never met you before, then it doesn't matter, right? The reason we do this big old picnic in the park event is that people get to see us face-to-face, right? The reason that we get together with people face-to-face is it allows us to be able to truly understand and absorb see if we like them or not, right? People are not going to do business with people they don't like. And if they don't know you, that's another thing. Let's see. Vanessa asked, how do we get cards like that or 5 logo that have them? Okay. So again, it's just super simple. You should be able to get them from your marketing department. Some people just like this basic one, and then some people have it branded to them, more specifically with you could have like your brand in the front, and in the back, you could have your picture on it or whatever else. So lots of different ways to do it, and they're fairly inexpensive to do, to get. And frankly, even if you don't have this, don't make this be an excuse as to why you don't do it. You can just go to, whatever store and just buy some greeting cards and write it out and send it out to them, right? Ideally, they're branded, but if they're not, it's not a big deal. The whole point is to just get it done. I know that, I don't know where I just read where it said, done is better than perfect, right? Done is better than perfect. Just get it done. Put it on your calendar and get it done. So you guys, I've given you 10 things that you need to be doing on a regular basis to be able to get listings. Now, here's the cool thing. And here's what I find really interesting is that if you guys were doing these things, you would have the success that you want to have, because it's not complicated, right? If you would really take the time to do every single one of these things, you would get listings. And here's the cool part is that if you got 12 listings by doing this, I'm sure you'd get more, but if you got those 12 listings, then that should translate into 12 additional buyer transactions, right? So that should be 24 transactions. If you guys are doing 24 transactions in a year, in most markets, you're a rock star, right? So it's not that difficult to do. And so I know that a lot of times, like, we get stuck in this rut of like, I don't know what to do. You wake up in the morning, you check your calendar, like, well, only thing I have on here is a training at, 10:30 or 11:30 or whatever time it is for you. And that's all you have in your calendar. Who would admit that right now? Who can admit that this is the only thing you have in your calendar today was this meeting right now? Anybody? No, you're not going to admit that? I'd love for you to open your calendar, show me on your screen of what the rest of your day looks like. Because if it's not on your calendar, it's not going to get done, right? If these things that I shared right now is not on your calendar, you just won't do it, because something will always come up. Something always comes up, right? There's always a fire to put out, either to be a transaction you're dealing with or kids or whatever it may be. They'll distract you from doing the things that will actually make you money. And the 10 things we talked about today are the things that will truly make you money. But it's something that doesn't happen immediately, right? You don't go and knock doors for an hour and then miraculously you get a transaction happen. It doesn't work that way. It's the small things done over and over and over again that will ultimately get you the results that you're looking for. Again, we talked about door knocking right now. You guys, right now is the summer months, right? Kids are out of school, right? Graduations are all over. People are going to be making moves. People are going to say, you know what? Right now is the time. And people had this, perception, or had this perception that people weren't moving, that buyers weren't buying. But guess what? That's not true, right? Buyers are still buying. Interest rates have not, they've had an impact on buyers' demand, but they're still buying independent of what rates have done. And that's been proven because you can look on the MLS and see transactions that have closed in the last 30 days, transactions that have gone pending in the last 30 days. So don't let that fool you, and make sure that you're letting your clients know that when you're talking to people on the street, when you're talking to people, when you're knocking on their door, that you let them know that there are still people buying property, right? It's not over. And right now, the summer months are when people actually make moves that have kids. They're either downsizing, they're upsizing, they're moving out of the state, they're moving out of the city. Right now is the time for us to be able to double down. I know that a lot of times agents will take a whole bunch of time off during the summer because they have their own families and they're taking time off, and so they kind of let go of the gas pedal a little bit. But right now is the time to double down. I'm not saying don't go on that vacation, right? Go spend time with your kids, go spend time with your family, but make sure that when you are working, the days you are, that you're being intentional. And by being intentional means that you've got your plan in place and you have got it in your calendar, and you actually make the work, you do the work. Who's got some limiting beliefs on the things that I've said that may not work? Anyone have any thoughts on, like, well, Nazar, I've tried that once and it didn't work, or I really don't want to go knock on doors because I don't want to bug people. Does anybody have that thought process? Yeah, Tessa, what is the thought that you have surrounding that?
Yeah, so I've always been like weird about door knocking because I absolutely hate it when people knock on my front door and I don't answer it. So and I have a farm, as you guys probably all know. And I finally was like, okay, I'm gonna go out there, I'm gonna door knock for the first time because I have like a really strict HOA here. And I always tell myself I don't want to end up on my Facebook group with pictures of me door knocking and piss people off. But anyways, I went door knocking. And sure enough, I talked to probably 10 different people that actually opened the door, 2 of which just signed a listing agreement with another agent. And they were like, where were you? And I'm like, you get my flyers in the mail twice a month. Like, why didn't you call me? But so now I'm making it more of a regular routine to go door knock, because I thought I was really active with the postcards and the Facebook group, but door knocking it really makes such a difference. So just getting that out of your head and just doing it, even if you sound like an idiot, who cares? Like, you'll get better. Just go out and do it consistently.
Yeah. I used to have this thought process that, I don't want people to bug me, and therefore I don't want to bug others. And when I took that limiting belief out of my head and thought, I'm going to go there because I've got something of value. Now, if you go to someone's door and you just say, hey, how's it going? And they're like, okay, how can I help you? And you're like, just came to say hi. Like, get out of my face. Like, what are you doing here? You're absolutely bugging them in that sense. But if you come and you knock on the door and they answer the door and you act like they are your best friend that you haven't seen in like 6 months, like, oh my gosh, how you doing? How are things been? Not being obnoxious, but just having like a positive energy and saying, hey, listen, the reason I stopped by today, and I know that I don't have an appointment with you, I know I've come unannounced, but I wanted to stop by because I wanted to tell you that your neighbor literally just sold their house for $50,000 above list price, or whatever it is, whatever value that you want to give to them, right? Whatever piece of information that they may or may not have had, you're providing them at that moment of time. And even if it's, hey, I stopped by today because we've got buyers that are, just dying to be able to move into this community, and I stopped by to see if you had any thoughts on making a move at all, right? And that's it. Like, it's that simple. You're not there to convince them to make a move if they don't want to. You're not there to convince them, right? You can't force someone to sell their house. You can't. I don't know if you guys, I watched this movie, and Vanessa, I'll get to you in a second. I watched this movie a long time ago. I don't even know what it was called, but this mobster, came from a different part of the country, came to, I think it was Beverly Hills, and he was driving to his appointment. And while I was driving to this appointment, he saw this house, and it was beautiful, had a beautiful, lush, landscaping. And then he stopped, had the person stop the car. He was in the back seat, he was in a limo. He gets out of the car and he goes to the front door, knocks on the front door. And this person answers the door and says, how can I help you? He's like, I want to buy your house. How much is it? And he goes, It's not for sale. He goes, yes, it is. How much do you want for your home? He goes, you can't afford my home. He goes, how much do you want for your house? Every home is for sale. And he goes, and he just threw some ridiculous number out, right? He goes, okay, get out of my house. And he goes, and he had his mobster guy come, open up a briefcase and like gives him all this money that he said that he wanted. And he goes, get the heck out of my house. And the guy just gets up and leaves. And he goes inside his home. Now, I know that's fictitious, but there's always a price, right? Like if you came to my house and you offered a specific dollar amount that's in my head or above that, I would freaking tell my family, stop what you're doing, get the freak out of this house. It's no longer ours, right? So everyone has that price in their head. And so sometimes it's a fun game to play when you go to their home, be like, hey, listen, at what price would you be a seller at? You know, if they say to you, oh, I'm not going to sell, say, that's cool. I understand. You've been here for 5 years and you have no intentions of going anywhere. I appreciate that. But if you did, where would you go? And at what price would you become a seller? Right? At what price would your home have to get to where you'd be like, dude, I'm cashing out? Right? Everyone has that. Like even in my head, I know that if my Bitcoin that I have, I've got 2 of them, 2 little Bitcoins, they're growing. If it gets this a specific number, I'm out. Like I'm done. And so everyone has that number. And so let's go play that game. Let's find out what it is. All right, Vanessa, you got some questions, and then I think some people put stuff on there as well. Okay, what was your
No,
question?
I just had, this is a positive one, for your number 6 CMAs. I never thought about, we always do CMAs for our clients or for someone we think might be selling their home that we know, but I never thought about just mailing those. So I just thought that was a real cool idea to mail out CMAs to build my clientele.
Yep. I think that here I'm posting the 10 there on the group chat. I think people were asking about it. Yeah, ideally, Vanessa, you go and drop it off in person and have a conversation with them. But if you don't, mailing them is next best thing for sure. You know, past clients or just whomever, right? Like just getting it out there and just going and knocking on those doors, getting it out there, just letting people know. The thing about in the state of Utah, it's a non-disclosure state. And so that means that when the home sale is complete, the MLS acknowledges what the home sold for, but it's not public data. And therefore, Zillow does not know what a home sold for, which is kind of crazy to me. And so when you go on the Zestimate or when you go on Zillow, like in California, it'll tell you exactly what the home sold for, right? And Utah, it's blank. There's nothing there. And so people like don't know what the home sold for in the neighborhood. They'll see that it was listed, but they don't know what it sold for. So it makes it even more advantage for us to be able to then offer that value to them. But even
Yeah. So you're saying I should also, the main thing is to drop it in person then,
ideally,
to meet the neighbors and get to know them.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. Knocking on the door, giving it to them in person is the easiest and best way to be able to do that. Let's see. What did you say, Nino? Oh, wait, what? What'd you say? The mobster, Bugsy, and oh, is that the story that I just told?
Bugsy Siegel is a guy who bought that home in Hollywood from a producer. He knocked on the door, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
He was also the first guy who built a casino, the Flamingo in Las Vegas.
Gotcha. Okay, so Seth asked if I primarily knocked on expired listings. All of it, right? Knocking on expired listings, cancel listings. Back in the day when foreclosures were prominent, I would knock on do not or a notice of defaults, notice of trust deed sales, and then just listed, just sold, right? Like it is, you have to, like anytime that there's any type of a movement happening, that's when you go and connect with those people. Like I don't just blindly knock on doors just to knock on doors. I'll pick strategically either, you know, someone that has tried to sell their house in the past or has currently sold their home. Because if you go knock on the door of the home that's sold, you can do a couple things. You can do one, adopt that client, right? Hey, congratulations on moving into this neighborhood. Even if you've got a freaking like $5 little gift card, you know, to Starbucks or a little gift basket with like, you know, pertinent information about the community inside of it. with your business card and say, hey, congratulations on moving here. Do you have any questions about the community or about, what's happening? Here's the local events of what's happening in the next, 2-3 months or whatever it is. Invite them to the picnic in the park, or the next event that's happening, just something, give that to them, right? Congratulations, whatever. And then say, hey, by the way, I'd love to be able to let you guys, let you know and adopt you as a client or however you want to word it, but just saying, would you like for me to be able to, continue following up with you and let you know what's happening in the community and also what your house is worth, right? Obviously you bought this home, it's an investment for you. So I'd love to be able to keep you up to date on how the value of your home will continue to increase over the months. And who's going to say no to that? So get their phone number, get their email address, get their name. You obviously already have their address because you're in front of their home, and then put them in your CRM, and then bam, continue to follow up with them moving forward. So adopting a client that way, and then going and knocking on the doors around them and saying, hey, your neighbor so-and-so just moved into the community. They're the Gonzalez family. They're phenomenal. They moved here from Torrance, whatever. You should go introduce yourself to them. And by the way, they bought their home for $700,000 or $900,000, whatever it is. And wanted to know if you had any thoughts on making a move yourself, right? It's very simple, easy conversations to have with people. It's not like you're selling some stupid gizmo or some gadget that no one cares about. Okay. Okay. So someone had a hand raised. I don't know who it is. So if you want to unmute yourself and ask a question.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yep.
Hey, this is Jonathan Patterson. Just really quick, I just wanted to touch on the thing you said about making 10 contacts a day. For me, it worked. I talk to people all day, every day. So for me, the 10 contacts is easy and it has been effective. Like the last couple of listings that I've had, well, I would say last 3 listing appointments that I had recently were all just from literally walking by people and just saying hi and having the conversation. I'm a realtor and, have you thought about selling your home, or, do you have any questions as far as real estate, or just making casual conversation about anything that relates to them that I can see, as far as, like, let's say I see somebody walking dogs. I know I have dogs. I'll have that conversation and then kind of lead into it. So
yeah,
the 10 contacts a day thing definitely works.
And I appreciate that, Jonathan. Like, it is hard to do, you guys. I know that I had this thing with Ryan McGinnis at one point where I challenged him to make 10 contacts every single day that he worked. And it's hard to do when life gets busy, but it's also an important thing to do, because that's what keeps you from riding that roller coaster ride of like getting super busy and then not having anything going on because you're too busy servicing the transaction that you're working with. Janelle asked, what grab statement would you do when you knock on doors on expired listings? There's several different ways in which you could approach that when you're knocking on their door, Janelle. One of the things that I think are super helpful to do is just to inquire about why they wanted to sell and where they're going to begin with, just to open the ice, or break the ice a little bit. So if I was to role play that with you, I'd say, hey, I'm really, really sorry that you had your house listed for sale for 6 months and we're unsuccessful. Tell me, if you had sold your house, where were you planning on moving to next? And then why is that? Why were you planning on moving? Right. And based on how they answer that question is going to allow me to be able to kind of dive in deeper and draw on that pain point of them moving and saying, hey, listen, tell me, why do you think your home didn't sell in the last 6 months or in the last 4 months? Why don't you think your house sold? And if you say, well, homes aren't selling, like, you know what, that is a common misconception that people have. But what's interesting, I don't know if you knew this or not, but the last 6 months that your home was on the market that didn't sell in our community, there's actually 120 homes that sold. Right? Wouldn't it be cool if your house was one of them? And if I can show you how I could have made your home be one of those homes that sold, would you like to at least explore that option?
Would you bring something to have those numbers, or?
I would absolutely have those numbers. Absolutely. I mean, again, like if you're whatever city that expired in, you can pull up the data of homes, not just like in their price point, right? Just in general, how many homes sold in that community in the last however many days that their home was on the market. And you can be specific. You can say, hey, your home was listed for 69 days. And within those 69 days, these are how many homes that sold in that time period. These are how many homes went pending in that time period. Right. And you could also bring up, these are how many homes also tried to sell their house but were unsuccessful, right? Pull up all the expireds within that time frame or the cancels within that time frame. And say these homeowners were also unsuccessful. So a lot of agents, a lot of homeowners think that all agents are alike and that we all do the same thing, but that's clearly not the case, right? And so if I can show you exactly how we are different and how we can help you get your home sold, would you be open to having that discussion? Well, no, well, bring me a buyer, and then I'll sell my house to you. Say, great. So if I brought you a buyer, you're willing to pay me a commission. Is that correct? Yeah, absolutely. Cool. So do you mind if I make an appointment so I can see your house, or do you have time right now to show me your home on the inside? Well, why don't you show it to me? Why don't you see the property when it's listed? Say, that's actually a great question. I try my best to be able to get to every single property, but I was busy working on the buyers that I had and the sellers I was representing and getting their home sold. So would now be an appropriate time, or would you like me to come back another time for me to be able to see your house and discuss what we can do and see if I've got a potential buyer that might be interested in your house? And we can use that, what Doug had mentioned a long time ago, Edrington, where he said, is it okay if I do a one-party showing? Right? I'd love to be able to see the inside of your house because there's not a lot of inventory right now. And so if there's a buyer that I'm working with that might buy a home or might want a house similar to yours, and your home's not on the market right now, I'd love to be able to bring them by and show them your property. Would that be okay? Well, yeah, absolutely. Great. And then so that gets your foot in the door. So always start with curiosity of why they initially wanted to sell. And then go into, because sometimes if you see a home that's expired or canceled and it's been like 2 days or a week on the market or even 30 days or less, then it might have been that their plans changed, right? Something happened. They were looking for a job transfer that didn't work out, or something didn't pan out, and so they've decided to change their plans. But if they've been on the market for, more than 60 days, like they're pissed off that their home didn't sell, and most of the time they're blaming something, right? And you can go there and help them out with that. Okay, so we've spoken a lot. Does anybody else have any other questions or thoughts?
Nazar, I have a very unique situation actually going on right now. Maybe you can help me navigate through it and kind of give the group some knowledge on how to navigate situations like this. But I have a lady who had me send her a listing agreement through email. She didn't want the listing presentation. She's already had multiple realtors that she had list her property and that she's interviewed, that she's fired. So she's a really hard cookie to crack. So I sent her the contract. She was on board at first, and then she's like, well, I'm gonna press pause. Me and my daughter are gonna decide who we actually, or how we want to actually list our home, if we want to go another route, because we've already tried the traditional way of listing our home multiple times and it didn't pan out. So I can't get in front of her to give her the listing presentation. What can I say to her that can kind of let her know, like, hey, we go about it a different way? Because I think she needs to be aware that we're different than the rest, but I can't really get in front of her to give her that listing presentation. How can I hook her in?
Why don't you just go to her house?
Just show up? Like, just not. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. That seems kind of evasive, like, considering we've already talked. That's how I met her. I met her.
Show up with a gun, right?
That's our job, Jonathan. Show up with like.
Go freaking knock on her door. Just be like, hey, I know that you're super frustrated that your home didn't sell, and I know you're just kind of frustrated about the whole experience. But I'm here. I'm here to tell you exactly what we're gonna do to get your home sold. And then, obviously have your bullet points of what it is that you feel is what caused her home not to sell last time, and be completely blunt. Like, I loved what Brandy said. She listed a home, co-listed a house with Gary Gold, who sells $1 kajillion properties in Beverly Hills. And, I love that Brandy said that he just doesn't give a shit. Like, he'll just speak his piece. Like, he doesn't care. Just be like, hey, listen, your home didn't sell because of you had your home listed for way higher than it needed to be. Because if they're not going to listen to you, then it is what it is, right? Like, you can't persuade anybody to listen to you. Either they're going to trust you and trust your judgment, or they're not. And so, yeah, go to her house and have your listing book there with you, have your listing contract there, and then see if you can get it in the door. And if you can't, then at least show up, give it to her in person, and then say, I'd love to be able to talk to you a little bit more about that. Yeah, Jenna, that's what I was thinking of. RPR, that's the one that's got, like, you can do like a 50-page, 100-page, or 20-page CMA, and it can be very simple that way. All right, guys.
All right, I'll let you know if I get cussed out.
Yeah. Again, don't get arrested. Just be nice and smile. All right. If you guys have any other questions, reach out to me. Otherwise, thank you for your time. You guys, if you want to invite anybody to these masterminds, these are recorded. They are on our websites. but obviously, live in person is always better. So if you want to invite people, you're more than welcome to, share the link with them. So, all right, you guys have an awesome Thursday. I will catch you next week. Bye.